All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're going to look at how early humans literally turned the natural world into the very fabric of human civilization. We spend a ton of time talking about stone tools, the discovery of fire, and forging metals. But today, we are exploring one of humanity's absolute oldest, most versatile, and honestly, most overlooked technological traditions. We're talking about the birth of textiles.
Seriously, take a second right now and just look closely at the shirt you're wearing. I mean, really look at the threads. Before we had modern factories or even the basic concept of cloth, early humans were freezing. They were getting rained on, battling harsh winds, rough environments, getting bitten by bugs, the whole shebang. Imagine a world with absolutely no cotton shirts, no cozy wool sweaters, no blankets, none of it. Early humans were living that reality, and it led to a desperate need for a solution. They needed protection, and fast.
So let's start with Section 1, before cloth existed.
To really understand how we got to the fabrics you're wearing today, we have to rewind way back, long before massive civilizations were ever a thing. Early humans started experimenting with loose natural fibers. Basically, while foraging for food and shelter, they noticed that certain plants had these long, stringy, flexible fibers. So they started playing around, separating grasses, stripping tree bark, gathering wild flax and nettles, collecting animal hair from the ground. They were just trying to figure out how to tame these unruly raw materials. And look, this wasn't some overnight aha moment by one genius. This was generations of trial and error, slowly figuring out that these fibers could actually be separated, twisted, and tied together.
And boom! These early, scrappy experiments sparked our very first major technological leap. Long before anyone ever wove a shirt, these ancient innovators figured out how to tie those loose fibers into life-saving tools. We're talking cordage, heavy rope, fishing nets, baskets to carry food. Someone probably realized, hey, if I twist this plant fiber, it makes a much stronger cord. And then someone else was like, well, what if I interlace multiple cords? Those simple, everyday discoveries, they laid the foundation for literally everything that followed.
Which brings us to Section 2, from fiber to thread.
Okay, so early humans are manipulating fibers now, right? But they were about to make a massive engineering leap. Here's the problem they faced. A single plant fiber is super weak. If you pull it, it just snaps. But when they invented spinning, where you carefully align and twist those fragile fibers together, they created a continuous thread that was incredibly strong. At first, they were just twisting it by hand, but eventually they developed these brilliant little tools called spindles. Spindles let them totally control the fiber and apply the exact Goldilocks amount of twist. Not too loose, not too tight, just perfect. And suddenly they were mass-producing consistent, high-quality thread.
Think of this progress exactly like a tech tree in a video game. Finding natural fibers unlocked the ability to twist them. And mastering that twisting, well, that directly unlocked the massive, world-changing possibility of weaving cloth. Because once you can crank out huge quantities of thread, you're not just stuck making nets and ropes anymore. You can actually create a brand new, stable, continuous surface. Now, to keep leveling up this tech tree, humans basically took two main paths. On one hand, you had plant fibers, mostly flax. Turning a raw flax plant into soft linen was wildly sophisticated. You had to harvest it, rot the stems just enough to separate the fibers, spin it, weave it, a ton of work. On the other hand, humans leaned into animal fibers like wool. Once sheep herding took off, communities suddenly had this amazing, renewable, super warm supply of fiber. Instead of hunting animals just for their skins, they kept the herds alive for a never-ending supply of materials. Brilliant, right?
Let's dive into Section 3, the weaving breakthrough. With all this awesome thread laying around, human engineering took an absolute quantum leap. Weaving was the game changer. Instead of just wearing heavy, stiff animal skins, humans figured out how to engineer a flexible surface by crossing threads over and under each other in a grid. You've got your warp threads, those run lengthwise, nice and tight, that's your foundation. Then you have your weft threads, which go back and forth across the warp, over, under, over, under. By crossing these two systems, they could suddenly manufacture textiles in basically any size, thickness, or pattern they wanted. But let's be real, managing hundreds of tightly pulled threads by hand is a total nightmare. So they invented a machine to do it, the loom. The loom was a total game changer because it let them separate those warp threads easily and shoot the weft thread right through the gap. Looms started out simple but evolved rapidly. Suddenly, humanity was churning out heavy protective gear, insanely fine linens, and beautifully patterned fabrics at scale. It's truly one of the most important machines in all of early human history.
But wait, they didn't just settle for boring, plain cloth. No way.
Ancient engineering wasn't just mechanical, it got intensely chemical. Early humans started experimenting with crushed plants, weird minerals, and even insects to invent dyes. They transformed basic fabric into a vibrant explosion of color: reds, yellows, blues, you name it. And this was tough. Actually, scratch that. It was incredibly complex. The exact same plant could give you a totally different color depending on the water temperature or how you mixed it. This was literally a masterclass in biology, chemistry, and engineering all rolled into one. Moving right along to section 4, more than just clothing. Once they totally nailed weaving and dyeing, cloth became something much, much bigger than just keeping warm. It became the ultimate platform technology. Seriously, think of textiles like the microchip of the ancient world. It unlocked completely new capabilities. Fabric got turned into heavy-duty bags to haul massive amounts of trade goods. It became heavy cordage and advanced fishing nets to pull more food from the sea. And maybe most impressively, it was engineered into massive wind-harnessing sails. Think about that. Some twisted grass eventually allowed ancient boats to cross oceans using wind power. Talk about a ripple effect. Because these fabrics were so ridiculously useful, they became incredibly valuable trade goods. As these unique dyes, perfectly spun yarns, and fancy new weaving techniques traveled hundreds, even thousands of kilometers along ancient trade routes, they connected completely isolated societies. The fabric itself became a physical network, passing technology, culture, and ideas back and forth across the ancient world. A spinning hack discovered in one village could literally revolutionize cloth making on the other side of a continent. And that brings us to section 5, the quiet textile revolution. So here is the crazy part. Despite all this world-altering innovation, we literally almost missed the true scale of it. Why? Well, it's a massive archaeological problem. Just look at the survival rates here. Stone tools, they sit in the dirt for 50,000 years and look practically brand new. Metal swords survive for centuries. But textiles, plant and animal fibers, they're organic. They just rot away. The very fibers that literally built human society simply vanish into the dirt, leaving archaeologists completely scrambling to find indirect clues. Because the actual cloth is almost always long gone, researchers basically have to play detective. They have to reconstruct this quiet revolution by hunting for the surviving tools. They're looking for little stone loom weights, ancient bone needles, and tiny spindle whorls. Sometimes they hit the jackpot and find preserved impressions of woven fabric pressed into ancient hardened clay, or even cooler, mineralized textiles, where the fibers completely rotted away but were perfectly replaced by minerals over thousands of years. Put all these tiny hidden clues together, and it proves just how utterly massive this ancient industry really was. So why is all of this absolutely crucial to understand? Because, for the very first time, humans learned to manufacture flexible materials out of nature. Think about it. Stone gave us rigid blades, wood gave us stiff handles, but fibers gave us the most versatile, shape-shifting material on planet Earth. It could be stretched, dyed, sewn, and perfectly molded to our exact needs. It was an unprecedented level of hacking the natural world. Flash forward thousands of years to the Industrial Revolution. Hand spinning gives way to massive machines, hand looms get replaced by steam-powered mechanical looms, and factories start pumping out miles of fabric a day. But here is the wild thing. The Industrial Revolution didn't actually invent anything fundamentally new when it came to cloth. It just made it faster. The core algorithm, take raw fibers, twist into thread, weave thread into a grid, is exactly the same today as it was millennia ago. Our materials might be synthetic now, but the software we're running, it's deeply ancient. So, the history of textiles? It's way more than just the history of fashion. Every single time you throw on a t-shirt or wrap yourself in a blanket, you are participating in a tradition of human craftsmanship and survival that goes all the way back to the dawn of civilization. Generation after generation took a handful of raw, unruly weeds and animal hair and, through sheer brilliant ingenuity, transformed it into cloth. They literally turned nature into technology. Which kind of leaves you wondering as you look down at the fabric you're wearing right now, doesn't it? Despite all our modern advancements, our massive automated factories, and our high-tech synthetic blends, are we really just running the exact same ancient tech tree unlocked by some ancient human twisting a handful of grass between their fingers? It's pretty mind-blowing to think about. Anyway, that's all for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next one.